Welcome to part 2 of my chat with musical theatre performer Sam Richardson. Hi, I'm Scott, watching Inside Musicals, the channel for all things musical theatre. Today we get into the nitty-gritty of auditions, networking, and being a swing in Bonnie and Clyde. So how are you at auditions?
Not bad. I love self-tapes. I love something about the comfort of my own home. There's not even the fact that you can do it over and over and over, because I have a bit of a rule that I don't do tapes more than 3 times.
You can lose spontaneity, I think.
Totally. You lose that, and also I'm not going to do it any better if I need more than 3 times. You know, at the end of the day, what we're training for is live performance, and if I've done the vocal work and I've done the acting work, if I can't get it in 3 tries, then I probably clearly haven't done enough, really, or I've picked something that is just not right for me. So yeah, give myself 3 tries, and then there's no one else around. It's just me, and then I just get to do whatever the heck I want.
Okay, so we had a slight interruption with the camera. We were talking about auditions, and you were talking about how live auditions can feel a bit fraught. I said there were 2 things that changed my mindset.
Yes.
The first thing for me was to understand that they want you to be good. Because if you're good, it means that they've at least got that role cast.
Yep.
It takes the pressure off them.
Yeah.
So even if they've got multiple people who are good, you know, that's an issue for you, but at least for them, they're in a good mood. So to know that they want you to be good when you go in the room, because otherwise it can feel antagonistic. Yeah. And the other thing was how you evaluate the audition. Because sometimes you don't get it and you go, whatever. But for me, I used to ask myself, did I at least entertain them?
Yeah.
Because auditions are not impressing someone with your technique. It's about connecting.
Yeah.
So if you can at least walk out of the audition and go, I at least entertained them.
Totally.
Then you've achieved something on the day.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a goal that felt like it was more in my control.
Totally.
Getting the job was not always in my control.
No.
But entertaining them was something I could play
Completely.
with.
And if you go in and do your best, at the end of the day, that's great. Like if you've gone in and given the circumstances as well, like, are you a little unwell? Like, there's things that come into play. If you've genuinely done your best under the circumstances, if you've prepared, then what more can you ask? I used to think if I don't get it, I haven't done well. And it's like it's not true at all.
No.
We're not right for majority of the roles.
Well, interestingly, we spoke earlier about, I think it was probably my first pro theatre show was Noddy.
Yeah.
And I'd auditioned for another show that they were doing, and I didn't get it, and I was very upset.
Yeah.
But interestingly, a couple of months later, my agent got a call and said, could you bring that guy in again?
Yeah.
So they liked what I did. And for me, that just affirmed that there just mustn't have been a role. Because at the time they said to me, there's not a role for you in this show. And I thought, that's the thing they say.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't just a thing they said. They actually meant it.
It's a similar thing. Well, I didn't end up getting this one, but for Jagged Little Pill, I was there right to the end, and thought that they loved me, and then like apparently they did, because then I got called in from that team to then audition for Girl from the North Country.
Right.
And then got through the end for that, and then also didn't get that, but the casting director sent a message and was like, hey, like I just want you to know I'm so in your corner and blah blah blah, like there's gonna be a show for you, you know.
And see, that's the thing, because when you said earlier about, you know, you go in there and all these other people have things on their resume, that's the thing that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because you actually are meeting those people.
Yep.
And that's part of networking.
Yeah, totally.
You might not be in each other's faces all the time, but if you go to auditions and they actually know the work that you've done, they're the things that make a difference. So that's why auditions are important as well, not just for getting the job, but getting the next job.
Totally, meeting people. And that's networking is always a thing that, you know, has to happen in this industry, but it always makes me feel icky. But auditioning is a very easy way to do it, because you're just there showing them what you do best, you know, and they get to meet you. It's more the networking, like theatre foyers and stuff, that I'm like,
Well, even that, I think the important thing to remember with networking is it's a relationship.
Yeah,
It's actually building an organic relationship. If it's one-sided, it's not networking, it's asking a favour. Whereas if you take an honest interest in somebody,
Yeah.
without an agenda, because people spot the agenda.
Yeah.
That's when it stops being icky.
Totally. And that's I remember talking to Matt Hetherington, who was playing Dan in Next to Normal. He's done quite a bit of work in the States, and they just, without shame, always have an agenda. And are like, hey, let's catch up for coffee to talk about how you can get me a job. You know, like they're straight up about it. And we don't really do that here. But I feel like it's still in the back of people's minds all the time. They just don't want to put it all on the table.
Or maybe the solution is, if you really are intent on that kind of networking, actually be completely brazen.
Yeah.
And actually do it that way, rather than just pretend that that's not what you're asking.
Totally.
But you are doing it.
Yeah, like sending a straight up email being like, hey, blah, 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 would love to catch up in regards to potentially something like this. You know, I don't know, I've never done it. But yeah, almost just getting straight to the point. Then you're just coming across as a far more honest person.
And I think you can provide value to people sometimes. And just say you're networking with a producer or something. Say to them, look, if you're ever doing a reading of a new show, give me a call.
Yeah, totally.
I will do it for you.
Yeah.
So it's like you're actually giving something of yourself, so it doesn't feel like an unbalanced
Completely.
proposition.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So what are the biggest pressures you face or feel starting out? We've addressed a couple of them, but what are the real things that you're hyper aware of?
For me, it's actually stuff that you fabricate yourself. You know, it's things that proving to people that you can do it, you know, or maybe even proving to yourself that you can do it. You know, if I get this job, then everyone will be like, oh yeah, knew he could do it. And then you're like, oh, phew. But it's like, you know, I know I'll get there. There's no rush. But when there are people around you, and, you know, particularly like people in your cohort, your friends that are jumping straight into contracts and whatnot, it's hard to not sort of be like, oh yeah, well, I can do that. And I put the pressure on myself that I'm not really even getting that external pressure of you know, me having to prove to them that I can do it, but I just make that up in my own head. Yeah. That's probably the number one pressure. It's all coming from in here.
Well, I think we often have that great sense of what our trajectory is going to look like. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't play out that way, it can freak us out a little.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we just have to be kind to ourselves and say, what if it happened in another way?
Totally.
What if I can be open to surprises?
Yeah. We have to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's a crazy brutal industry, you know, like even getting reviewers in for Next to Normal, that was a weird experience for me. People coming in we're inviting these people in to, you know, write up about my performance, you know. That was crazy for me. You know, people like Queenie and whatnot, reviewers that just is what it is. But for me, I was like, oh my God, like the pressure's on, right? And Queenie was so great. She was sort of like, no, you've done the work. You just got to do what you do. And I was like, yeah, but they're going to like write about it. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but you're great. Just do what you do. And I was like, okay.
I think one thing a lot of people outside of entertainment don't really understand is that I guess the distinction between self and the work is very, very thin.
Yeah.
Because you are what you do.
Yep.
Your identity is part of your work.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very hard to separate those things. And so criticism of the shape of your body, which might never happen in other industries, is quite common.
Yeah.
If people want to critique something you've done, they don't necessarily say the performance was under par. They say you sucked. So it becomes very personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of other industries, there are ways of shielding people from that kind of direct thing, and they can go home at night and maybe walk away from the job. Yeah,
it's
but
like,
we are the job.
Totally. It's that thing, it's like, you know, sure, someone can say to a plumber, hey, you suck. That pipe doesn't fit there very well because it's leaking. And they'll be like, bugger, okay, I'll fix it up. I don't imagine that would kind of hang around with them.
But when you're told in audition, you're too short.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like...
How do I come back from that?
Yeah. God, it's like, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll fix that up for next time. Ridiculous. Or just, your honest interpretation of a piece. They're just like, it's not it. And it's like, damn, well, that's me. Like,
and how do you distinguish between your choices and the director's choice?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're not always the same. And there are things often you just have to do and then justify later. Yeah. Because that's how the director wanted them. And that's the hierarchy. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But you have to wear it. Yeah,
there's that was what was great about uni as well, was working with directors in third year to kind of, work out that balance of giving offers. Because as an actor, that's it's almost the best part of the job, giving offers, seeing what sticks, what parts are completely yours that you get to put in the show, and then also being like, you have to deliver that line here, then you have to take 3 steps and go there because that light has to hit you on that line, and it's like, oh, okay, because in an acting class, you just go wherever you want, but having to take notes and then be in spots at the exact time.
And make it seem spontaneous.
And make it seem like that. That was a really great part about third year, because then when I got into the room for Next to Normal, it wasn't a shock,
I was in a rehearsal room with a friend of mine once. We were in a show together, and the director said to her, I want you to cry at the end of the song. And she turned to him in all honesty and said, what beat of what bar do you want the tear to fall?
What?
And every night of the show, that beat of that bar, the tear would fall.
How? That's amazing.
That's cool, yeah.
I would love to get to that point. That is incredible. I remember watching an interview with Jordan Peele. He was talking about Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, who's just phenomenal in that movie. One of the best performances I've ever seen in a film. And he spoke about how take after take after take, the tear would just fall at the exact same point in this hypnosis scene. And it would just, every single time without fail, the tear would fall on that line, and then it would just become a waterfall, and it would just keep going. And then after each take, he'd just have to take a second and then come back and then do the exact same thing again. And I was like...
it's one thing in theatre to do it each night, but to do it in film, take after take, that's a whole other thing.
What's harder? I'd actually probably say theatre is more difficult because, if he's getting into a certain place to be able to do that, as a lot of American actors doing the whole method kind of thing, which we don't really do here in Australia.
We just act.
Yeah. Getting into that place and then only just having to do it for that kind of hour, maybe. But theatre, 8 shows a week for months on end, that's difficult. And that's going back to what we're talking about when it doesn't work. You have that toolkit,
Yeah.
And you use what you need in order to get to that place if the piece calls for it. But yeah, that's I'm not at that place yet.
So coming up shortly for you is Bonnie and Clyde. You're heading to Sydney for Bonnie and Clyde. I'm interested in a couple of things for that I think people might be interested in. So how long is the rehearsal period for that show?
It's about 3.5 weeks, which seems pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems pretty quick. And then it's a month of shows. But yeah, I definitely have to sort of pull my finger out and get on it.
So what have they asked for day one? Have they specified anything they need you to prep? Do you need to have words down, songs down, or is it just totally up to you?
They haven't specified anything. And they didn't specify anything for Next to Normal either, which makes me think they just kind of leave it up to the actors to sort of know their process. And, I know what the workload is. I know the characters, because I'm covering in the show. I know the characters I'm covering. I have the script, I have the score. I can see the workload in front of me. And I just need to look at that rehearsal schedule and know in myself what is going to be achievable in that time. And for me, it's getting all the songs down before I go, having a really good hold of the music, and then sort of have my way around the scenes. But I'm not gonna kill myself to get the scenes off book as well. But I think having the songs will be a really nice help for me.
Yeah.
To have that down by day one, because obviously I'm learning my own ensemble track, but then I'm covering Clyde and Buck as well, and then a couple of minor roles too. So there's a lot to do.
So for people who don't work in the industry, can you explain what covering means, or what it?
Yeah,
or a swing.
A swing, yeah. So I'm cast as an onstage swing, which means I'm there. I'm on stage. I'm doing the show every night as a villager or whoever it may be in the back. But if someone goes down, if someone gets COVID or something like that,
or somebody happens to put something in their drink,
someone happens to just fall down the stairs, I'm on, and it can be as short as like half an hour notice, and I just have to be ready to go. Potentially having maybe not even teched the show, it's a really difficult.
Because a swing often doesn't get their own discrete full rehearsal period.
No.
Of those roles that they're covering.
Yeah.
So you kind of are shadowing the person who's actually playing those roles.
Yeah.
But you very rarely get to do full rehearsals yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a really tough.
It's really just diving in the deep end, yeah. This is a funny one too because they never met me. This was purely self-tapes, this one. But they did call up Mark, who directed Next to Normal.
Right.
And we're like, what do you think of this kid? Like, can he do it? It's the workload, blah, blah, blah. Luckily, Mark said that I was okay. I was good to go. So they're like, great, we'll give it to him. But yeah, it's gonna be a challenge. But I'm really chuffed that they believe that I can do it, and it's gonna be a nice step into that kind of swing cover part of the industry because it's not crazy difficult. I've spoken to a few people that have swung and covered, and they're like, "This is a good start." First of all, it's a show that you love. Clyde as well is a character that that really sort of got me into music theatre. I remember hearing some of that stuff and just being like, whoa, this is really fun. So getting a chance to tackle that at 22 years old, I didn't think I'd maybe get a chance at Clyde until late 20s, maybe early 30s, maybe something like that. So to be doing it now, I feel pretty lucky. And it's just him and it's Buck and then it's a couple of minor ones. So it's not like a crazy dance swing show where there's a huge mountain of choreography. I think it'll be a nice step into that arena because I've never done anything like that.
So if all goes well, let's hope something terrible happens to that.
Yeah, and I just that's the thing too. If it is something that is a couple days, like COVID, it's not wish an injury or anything upon anybody, but if it is something like COVID, that will, allow enough time for my family to come see the show. It's like 7 days of shows.
But I've I've gone to see a show where the main character's gone down at interval, and all of a sudden the whole cast has to reshuffle.
Wow.
Which is a huge ask.
That is huge.
It's one thing, a couple of hours before the show or the night before or something to get notice, but in the middle of the show.
Yeah. How funny for the audience too.
It was weird to see another face in the same character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about theatre though, isn't it?
The audience can go with it.
Oh my God, yeah. Even last night with my friends, we had a bit of a movie night and then on YouTube we were watching just theatre mishaps. And it was awful. Some of it's you just feel awful for them, and it's really. But then some of it is like
so amusing.
Yeah, like this is why we love it. Anything can happen at any time, and the audience embrace it. The cast, although their heart probably will sink in the moment, what a hilarious.
Like when Paddy Lapone stops the show because someone's on their mobile phone.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just anything can happen at any time. So yeah, it's also a funny talking about like potentially going on. It's a funny thing though, isn't it? Because although having that opportunity to go on, I would really like. It would be dangerous to kind of like want it, and be like or sort of not feel like I'd be fulfilled unless I go on for one of those characters. I've signed on to be a swing, and if I get to go on as one of the leads, then that's just a bonus, I guess.
In 12-month, 18-month contract, it's likely to happen.
Totally.
A 4-week contract.
4 weeks. 30 shows, something like that. Yeah.
So I'm interested in the contracts. I know increasingly in contracts for shows, you're expected to promote the show on social media. Is there anything included in yours with that expectation, or is it not specified?
Not really, but the way that social media is now is performers really want to do that, and we really like to. It's so funny. I was talking to my housemate. He's a teacher, and just how he is so secretive with all of his social media because of students and whatnot. Private accounts, changing names, things like that, because you don't want students to be seeing your profiles or whatever. Yeah. And then as performers, we're open for everyone to see. We're putting our work on there. We're putting, singing, dancing clips, just how big cast announcements are now on social media, the day of the cast announcement, things like that. It's huge. So although it's not in the contract, we really want to, really want to gain sort of traction around the show, and just for your own individual account as well, to get people to kind of see your work. So yeah, it's not in the contract, but everyone gets around it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
It's been a joy. We'll have to get you in again at some point, maybe after Bonnie and Clyde.
That'd be great.
Now, once again, be sure to show Sam some love in the comments. He's a guest here after all. Connect with him on Instagram. Let me know what topics you'd like us to cover next time we chat.
And now we do a duet for the fans.